We're back. It's Simply Single, back with you for some new episodes. And we know it's been a little while, and even though we are deep into the new year, I'm going to say it anyway. Happy New Year, because we haven't seen you since right before Christmas. We're happy to be back, and we have some changes that we're going to talk about first before we get into our topic. Lots of new stuff to talk about. But you know, you gave us some feedback. One thing you said was, I am really enjoying the topics, and they are helping a lot, and we're glad because that's the whole reason for doing this show. But here are some changes. First, we are in a studio. People said, you know, we kind of want you to be in the same spot for a little while. Now, we had a good time going around Huntsville, exploring. I went into places I never even knew existed in Huntsville. But we're in a studio in the communication department at Oakland University, and this is where we're going to do our final episodes. Here are some other changes, but first, let me reintroduce you to our girls. You know, they're back with me. First, we have Mindy. Hey, Mindy.
Hello.
Glad to have you back. And then there's Ruth.
Hi.
Hi, Ruth. And then Angel. Hey. Glad to have you back with us, Angel. But here is the difference. Other than the person that you see it's missing, Dominique, she will be back with us in a couple of weeks. But the biggest change is you said, we want Dr. Renee to be in the whole conversation. We don't want her to be just at the end where she's giving us tips and advice. She has great things to say. Let her join in the full conversation. And you know what? You're right. So Dr. Renee, welcome to being with us for the full time. And we're looking forward not just to your tips, but for you giving us a little insight and experiences that you've had that relate to our topic. So let's get started. Our topic today, will you be catfished or fished out? What do you think about online dating? Let's see what some of you had to say before we bring it into the studio.
Okay. I personally don't believe in online dating. I'd rather meet somebody and just have it be a natural thing, you know? I feel like online dating is too impersonal. You don't really get a chance to really know that person through online dating until y'all meet up. You know what I mean?
The impression that you give off is what you think of yourself for the most part, you know? Or you have to elicit friends to say, okay, what am I really like and how do I portray that in 10 words or less? You know, so that makes it difficult because people are so much more complicated than that, you know? There's so many more layers to us and there's so many different ways that you get to know someone, not just by talking to them, but by observing how they live and seeing the fruits of either their labor or their lives. So I'm not a big fan of online dating because I don't think you get the chance to see that.
Okay. Thank you for sharing some of what you thought about online dating. Let's bring it in to the ladies. Online dating. Now look, when I was single, online dating was just kind of getting started. And so therefore I didn't have anything to do with online dating. I think you had to pay an exorbitant amount of money to even get onto a registry or, you know, to become a member of an online dating service. So first of all, before we get into any real personal stories, what do you think about online dating? Do you do it? Don't you do it?
I enjoy it. I do it.
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's what, $30 a month? That's less than a tank of gas. So, and I kind of look at it as a catalog. I mean, if there's something on there that's a deal breaker, a lot of times that information's there. And so I look at it as the time management tool.
Oh, time management for the busy person. All right. I mean, so when you say you do it a lot, what does that mean?
Not necessarily a lot because I've been single for about 10 years now. So I've learned a lot about me and what I'm looking for. So I tend to be pickier online than I am in person.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of times, you know, when you meet someone in person, you're not seeing punctuation or misspellings of words and stuff. So
Right.
There's some things that probably matter more online than they would in person.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's definitely a tool I use.
Okay. Anybody else make the tool?
I have fun. Yeah, it has been fun, but also overwhelming.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to pick that apart in a minute.
All right.
All right.
Well, for me, I actually met my ex online, which wasn't a bad thing at the time. We were on Yahoo Messenger. They didn't have online. They didn't have a dating site per se. It was just people getting together to talk, and it was easy to see that he was the type of person that I wanted, and at that time he really was. Times change, people change over time, but at that time it was good to see the profile and be able to say, okay, well, this works for me. I didn't necessarily want a smoker, didn't necessarily want a drinker. I wanted someone who was of a certain height, at least taller than me. It didn't have to be super tall, but at least taller than me. If they had kids, I wanted to see if they took care of them, things of that nature. So it did help weed out some of the others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Renee.
My children saw fit one year to give me that for a Valentine's Day gift. Yes, what
Okay.
an interesting thing for that year. Okay. Yes. And so I tried a little of it, but it was a little strange for me. Because I was accustomed to, I need to meet that person. I need to feel the essence.
Interpersonal connection.
Yes, because you give me 2 minutes, I can probably tell you right off the bat, how this is going to go. And so that online sort of didn't do that so much for me. But there have been people who have been very successful with it.
Yeah, I can think of like 3 right off the bat who have met their spouses through an online dating service. What do you think are the advantages of using online as a dating tool?
Well, I think you get to meet people you wouldn't otherwise meet. I know humans are typically creatures of habit. I know I am. So you typically get in the habit of going to the same restaurants or the same places or shopping at the same stores. And you wouldn't necessarily, you go to the same church, you wouldn't necessarily have met that person otherwise. And so it kind of opens up the playing field.
It gets you outside of that circle,
Yeah,
that
it does.
routine.
It
Okay, I
does.
could see that. Any other advantages you think there are to dating online?
Well, you get to go through them quickly. I don't think that's a bad
What
thing.
does that mean, Angel?
Well, when you meet someone, it takes 4 or 5 dates to really get to decide whether or not there's no guilt in saying, I don't really want to talk to you anymore if you're online. If you're talking to someone and they say something you don't like, you can try to work it out, but you don't have to. You've never met this person.
Okay.
You can just call it quits right there. It's like, I'm not really interested in this anymore. Thank you.
Okay, so it doesn't allow you to invest a whole lot
Of time.
into it initially.
I think one of the positives of online dating is sort of as to what you alluded to, is it does open up your world. There's plenty of people all over the world, and it does help you to go through pretty fast. But one thing that it does is it can totally match what you have in mind for a person. And so you don't have to have feelings so much vested in it. And where, well, I've met them and they are nice, so maybe this, that, and the other. If they, as you said, if they don't fit the certain profile, you don't have to respond back, or you don't have to give them a wink, or whatever the different things.
Whatever the terms are.
Yeah, whatever the things that people do. And people tend to tell the truth more when they have not met you. And so,
Really?
yes, they do. They tend to. If you look for certain things, it's just something that I think Mindy had said is those things of, even in their writing, and if they're careless, sort of in their spelling and in the way they present things, you can pick those things up. Wherein if the person maybe has, not the best diction when you talk with them, well, you'll excuse it. But whenever you look at it, you say, okay, you're supposed to be actually putting your best foot forward here, and this is what, you're presenting. Or they will actually tell the truth about their interest, is they will say, I'm just for fun, or I'm not wanting a relationship, or whatever the case may be. Wherein sometimes, when you're face to face, that can get pretty blurred,
Yeah.
But they will put it right there online, just looking for a friend, not interested in getting married, things of that nature. So
Well, because I would think that it's a little opposite as far as telling the truth.
Well, there
that
can be
that
that, too.
online is so easy to mask yourself, and by now you know I'm a Dr. Phil buff, and there's been so many stories on Dr. Phil about catfishing, being catfished, which we know is a term that means basically being scammed for love online. And I am just, it's incredulous how many women are caught falling in love with fictional people.
Right.
And how does that happen? How in today's age can a woman actually be scammed, falling in love with someone she's never met, and giving money, cleaning out bank accounts, and all of that with this? I don't understand this whole catfishing thing at all. I don't see how people can actually fall into that.
Well,
Can you explain that?
I've seen Catfish on MTV, and from what I've seen, it happens to women as well as men. It happens to straight as well as homosexual. It happens to everyone. And what's happening is people are taking pictures of ridiculously fine people from Facebook
stealing
and all
pictures,
these other places, and just copying and pasting and making a profile, putting things on that they think will appeal to someone, and then they find someone and they just keep it going. Little kids are doing it, old people are doing it. It's like, what do you think is going to happen when this person finally wants to really meet you? They give all sorts of excuses as to why they can't meet
All
you.
sorts of
And then these people
excuses.
just take them. They take these excuses. That part I don't understand, because if you don't meet me at least twice, we have a problem.
Right.
It's like, I can't see you. What's that about? Oh, I have a life where I live on a ship.
Right. Yeah.
That is so implausible.
Well, see, the thing of it is just like what I said about telling the truth. If you look at that, they're actually telling you the truth, but we don't choose to believe it. We see whatever we want to see and hear
We're
whatever
not
we
picking
want
up
to.
on the little
Correct.
clues.
Correct. If that person in their profile even says, which I've seen online, where I live wherever in Australia, and I'm on an oil rig for this amount of time, and I haven't been here, on land, and I have a daughter who's in Washington, and they need taken care of. That right there lets me know, no, that's not the person. They couldn't catfish me if I follow really my Holy Spirit that says, oh, there's a lot wrong with this. But we tend to want to believe what we want to believe, and we tend to feel like that people are innately good, which I feel to a certain degree that they are. But people who are users and abusers, they don't change, and they don't change their routine either. They do the same thing, and people will pick up on it because they know, they have studied human nature enough. The predators, I will say, they have studied us enough, and they know that I feel sorry for his daughter, so I'll send money for this, that, and the other, or that, and they don't change their routine. They don't try. They are telling you just what it is, and you pick up on it, and you go send the monies and things like that.
That's
and
just
the
crazy.
women always say that, well, there was something there. Well, it led, I thought, well, something seemed shady. That was actually your brain telling you the truth right then, but you didn't want to hear
Well, let
it.
me say this. I think online dating, I look at it as a tool to meet people, but I think just one or two back and forth should be enough to meet, and then there's no point in talking online because you have phone numbers and face-to-face interactions.
So you're not using online dating as a way of carrying on a
dating.
relationship,
No,
a dating relationship.
No, I mean, to me, it's just another way to meet people.
But has anybody ever been scammed or experienced that?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Well, let me hold you on because they're saying we need to take a break, and I want to hear the full story because we need to know what happened so that we can safeguard ourselves against that kind of thing. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Ruth is going to tell us what happened with her little catfishing incident. Stay with us.
1 in 4 households.
40% of all women have never been married. Wait! Don't get way down in gloomy facts. Download this new ebook by Patrice Thomas Conwell. Follow her journey to accept and appreciate the single life. Nobody ever told me I might not get married. One woman's journey to acceptance. Available at these retailers and more. We're back, and we can't wait to hear Ruth's story of how she almost got catfished. So Ruth, tell us what happened.
Yeah, well, several years ago, I went online for the first time. I was very scared. I was very skeptical. You know, it was very weird, the idea. So I went to this Christian website, and I signed up. And then I got a lot of messages and stuff, but I was not responding to no one. Finally, I liked this guy, very handsome. Then I decided, everything was like perfect, not far from me and all that. So before responding, I got the information I had and tried to have a background done on him. I paid the company and all, but nothing came out, nothing. So I kept on trying some more, nothing. And then I said, you know what? I love investigation. I said, this is gonna be my project. Was no longer, you know, I still like the guy though.
Had you been communicating?
Did.
Okay.
Make the long story short, took me almost 2 months, but I found out that it was a scammer from Africa who was using somebody else's picture and lying, all kind of stuff, but kind of very pitiful lies. But I was expecting for him to see from where he was from and money, and he did both. He tried to do like people do, make the woman fall in love with them, and then she would do anything. You know, so he finally asked, but by then I was just waiting for him. I kind of, you know, reverse psychology, and he was almost falling for me by then. Serious. Yeah, because I got to speak on the phone, but it was not even him or somebody else because he didn't know enough English. So, yeah, so I found out all
So it was a true catfish scheme.
Yeah, but we played each other.
Okay.
I won. And then
Yes, you did.
Yes. He asked for $6,000 for him to come. You know, he tried many ways, but I had to go on my investigation until the end. So the end, he never wants to talk with me again because I put him in a very uncomfortable situation, very scary. So that was it.
So why is it that it seems so easy for people to be scammed
Can
online?
I say something?
Yes.
Because we are vulnerable sometimes. And it's easy because we're there looking for somebody. That's why we're there. You know, we're looking for love, somebody. So it's a free information. So, and people, we all need love, attention, and all that. So people that are predators, they look for those that are very vulnerable. Let's say an older lady who doesn't, you know, hear the good things for a good time. She's alone and all. She's a good catch. So he plays a good, nice man and all that, and calls her baby and all kind of stuff that she wants to hear.
Yeah,
and she'll
yeah.
do anything for him, and she does. That's why they scam. One of the ways they scam people.
We tend to, we as women, sad to say, tend to want to be saviors. And that I can save him, or he has this problem, or this, I can fix it. And this will make him, you know, be endeared to me and love me.
That nurturing
Yes,
thing.
it is. Yes, it is. And that, for me, is actually the ploy of the devil. It's when we look through our examples through Bible times, we're the ones, the women are the ones where the men are supposed to fill our needs. And our, they're supposed to love us as Christ loves the church and gave his life for the church. But we tend to turn that around, and we want to meet all of this need, and we want to do, and I was the one that helped him. And the men understand that about us. And so they play on that. But if we are the stronger one and understand our worth and what God has set us up in the way he has set us up to be, we won't fall for every scam. Because, you know, if we get our fulfillment from God, our love and our attention and the affection, and he calls us baby and honey and whatever else, then I'm not going to be so easy to just fall for you. Because there's a saying that I love that Max Lucado says, is that I need to be so wrapped up in God that the man has to go to God in order to get to me. And if that man is saying all of these earthly things, you know, and we have to be careful when they say a bunch of spiritual stuff as well. Let's not
Because they can
get
use
that
that
twisted.
as a little,
Yes.
little
But
tactic.
I need to see what his relationship is with God, and then he can get through me. And when I say to him, oh, I'm going to pray for you that you get the $6,000 and we can fast and pray together and God is your provider, then that will cover, you know,
Right.
that will uncover, in
Right,
other words,
right.
exactly what his scam really is.
Right,
Yes, what
right.
we tend to want to be.
Now I'm going to go to a different angle. Okay. When I was single, and dating services were really what was prevalent then, and a few online things, as well as singles groups and going to singles seminars and weekend workshop kind of thing. I never really got into the whole dating service online thing because it made me feel so desperate. Like these things are not free. You have to pay to be in a service. And my feeling about paying someone else to find people for me to talk to felt so desperate. Do you think of it that way at all? Or is it more like I'm worth the investment, so I'm investing in myself? I mean, how do you look at it?
You've heard the phrase "desperate times call for a desperate measure." When you get there, it doesn't feel
So
like
you're saying it is desperate.
And nobody knows. You do it on your privacy.
Okay.
That's one of the things, because if you have 2 or 3 guys in a church and 10, 12 ladies, I mean, come on.
Right.
But when you're by yourself, nobody knows. There are like hundreds and sometimes thousands of guys available to choose from, and nobody's bothering you.
Well,
Okay,
and I was
see?
going to say, I've paid and been involved with the dating service before, and I just look at it as a time management tool. There are so many losers out
So
there,
you
Patty,
play with them.
Okay.
and I don't actually have the time to go out on the date with a loser, because a lot of times a date takes a couple of hours, and like you said, within 5-10 minutes,
You pretty much know.
the appetizer's not even there yet, and you're like, oh my gosh, 2 more. Oh. And so if someone can kind of sort through it for you, I mean, I'd rather stay at home than be out with a loser. And I mean, you've got to go and take a chance at some point. But I mean, I guess to me, if someone else is paying to be part of the service, at least they can pay their bills.
But not everybody's a loser. I'm not a loser.
Not everybody, no, but I'm just saying there's a lot of them out there.
I'm
I
not a
dated
loser.
half the losers in Huntsville, I do believe.
Talking about, you end up kissing more frogs than you do.
Right.
I know,
princes.
kind of joke.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
But I can see where it could be desperate or not, depending on really your state of mind. And the thing is if you are desperate and that's why you're doing it, then you are more apt to get preyed on. But if you are like Mindy, where it is a time management, and as I say, you meet people from all over the world, and it can actually open up doors. You may not ever meet, Mr. Patel in India, but now you get a chance to meet him because he was online. But if you're not desperate, then you can actually just have it be whatever it is and actually be aware of those red flags. And I'm not just I can do the research. I'm not just going to settle for anything or anybody. But I have known women who are desperate, and whoever, like I say, the first one that gives them a nod or a wink or whatever they do, and they're just like, oh, yes, we can meet in a month, and, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
Then you're more apt to get scammed.
All right, so we have to wrap it up. And before we listen to some more viewpoints from the street about online dating, really quick, one tip for safeguarding yourself from scamming. Go.
I would just say within a few back and forths, you have to meet in person.
Okay?
Take your time.
Okay?
Don't rush.
Be true to yourself.
Okay?
Pray about everything and remember your list. If he doesn't fit up with that, let it go.
All right, you heard it here. Some tips for safeguarding yourself so that you can have a successful online dating experience. And if you've had good online dating experiences, write into us and share those with us so we can share them with everybody else. Right now, we're going to take it back out to the streets to see some other viewpoints on online dating. Stay with us.
Okay, well, I'm only 20, so no, I'm only 20 now, so I don't think I ever would. I don't want to say I judge people who do, but I think it's kind of lame.
I tend to put things in car analogies. I wouldn't buy a car off the internet, so I don't know why I would look for my wife on the internet necessarily. I mean, I know it works out for some people, but personally for me, like all the other guys and girls have said, I just don't believe you get that connection that you really need to know if you're compatible with that person.
I realize that my generation is super, technological, but I just think it seems like a last resort.
And I truly believe that God blesses you with everything that you need. And when you're ready for a wife or husband or whatever, God's going to bring that person to you. If you're never ready for it or God has other plans for you, He'll find other ways to make you happy.
All right, so we've had a great time talking about online dating. Now, next week, here's the question. Does the old maid still exist? Who feels like an old maid? I know nobody's going to raise their hand. Do you ever
But not a maid.
Oh, you're old, but not a maid. All right. Well, the stigma about being older and single, that's really what we're talking about. And sometimes that stigma can come from external places or internal places. So I'm wondering, in today's society, does that old maid stigma still exist? That's what we're talking about next week. So you're going to have to come back to hear what we say. We're so glad that you joined us today, that we're back for new episodes. And remember to give us some feedback. You can leave a message on Facebook at Patty Conwell, like the Patty Conwell page, or you can tweet me at Patty Conwell, or even leave something on the YouTube channel, Patty Conwell. I want to hear your comments because then we can take your comments and fold them into the discussion. So we look forward to seeing you next week, and we hope that you enjoyed today. We look forward to seeing you. Bye.
Baby doll was in the dollhouse, Barbie Ken, how it's supposed to be. But it seems like something's missing from the equation, you and me. Tell me, why am I not having fun? Yeah, in this game we play. Well, if you're tired of trying to fight the fantasy, you need to hear what I have to say. Okay, get your dancing shoes on, we're gonna have some fun today. Hey, hey, single people all over the world say God made me this way. Hey, hey, you don't need nobody else to have some fun today. And just snap your fingers from side to side and say I'm okay.